Good evening and thank you for joining us. A tragic collision on Highway 61 this morning has left one person dead.
The single vehicle crash occurred very close to the Thunder Bay Correctional Center. There was a significant police presence at the scene throughout the morning. Around 8:45, the MTO announced that the northbound lane was closed due to the collision. The SUV sustained serious damage and wound up in the ditch. Crews were on scene directing traffic while officers investigated. The highway was completely closed for a short time around 11 a.m. OPP haven't yet identified the victim in the fatal crash or provided any details about what might have caused it.
The financing strategy for the planned indoor turf facility next to the community auditorium is up for debate at Monday's City Council meeting.
Administration estimates a $44.5 million build and a total commitment of more than $55 million when you factor in the interest paid on a 25-year loan. But one councillor says the city might also consider a less expensive bubble for indoor soccer. Vasilis Bellos reports.
Thunder Bay City Council will discuss administration's recommended financing plan for the proposed indoor turf facility at Monday's meeting. It comes with it an estimated $44.5 million price tag. That figure doesn't factor in interest payments on a proposed 25-year debenture to fund the project. The $21 million loan with a 4% interest rate annually brings the total cost associated with the project to more than $55 million.
Council has to be willing and ready to say no to a whole bunch of other things if we move forward with this proposal.
Councillor Brian Hamilton recognizes supporting this build next to the community auditorium could come at the cost of other significant capital projects. Hamilton says the investment's only worth it if it's done with longevity in mind, and if not, he would be willing to shrink the scope of the project.
Looking at council to not pare away the project to a point that we're not building it for the future. And in that case, I'm going to be really 100% behind a bubble, an affordable facility that we could build now. It could be ready and up for players for next year, serves the community.
Some existing financial commitments to the project include more than $7.6 million from the Indoor Turf Facility Reserve Fund and over $7 million from the Canada Community Building Fund.
The number, I think, is a little high in my estimation, but I think that is probably your upper limit in terms of how much we want to spend.
Red River Councillor Mike Zusino remains confident the facility could be built for less than administration's estimation. Zusino does feel there should be a sense of urgency amongst council if they want the project to move forward, as costs continue to rise.
Inflation is hitting us in all shape, way, and form, so the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost. So you got to find that sweet spot in terms of let's get to this project, but we can't just mortgage our future with it as well, too. So you got to find a happy medium there.
If council supports the financing strategy on Monday, a report will come back in the new year with the results from public consultation. There will also be the information required to move forward with a competitive procurement process. Vasilis Bellos, TVT News.
Thunder Bay drivers continue to disobey school bus stop arms.
Last year, school bus drivers reported close to 1,000 vehicles passing them while their red lights were flashing and their stop arms were extended. And this year, they've already been more than 300 such incidents. City police are calling it inexcusable. Josh Morano reports.
School buses letting off or loading on students will always have their red lights flashing, arms extended, and their stop signs out. But city police say that has not stopped many drivers from putting children in danger to pass them. Since schools opened in September, 304 incidents have been reported by bus drivers to an Excel spreadsheet which police have access to. Constable Tom Armstrong says they held this media event in an attempt to get local drivers to realize the dangers.
This is an issue we've talked about a lot. We've tried to get messaging out there, and it seems to be something that is not getting through to people, and it causes great concern, both personally and professionally. I mean, if something bad happens, it's going to be real bad, and it's something you don't want to be responsible for. So whether it's an impatience, an indifference, a lack of attention, I don't know, but pay attention. And when the buses stop for it.
Last year, the amber lights on school buses were modified to flash before a bus comes to a stop to warn drivers and give them time to either pass safely or stop accordingly. But with an average of 6 incidents a day, Armstrong says this doesn't seem to be solving the problem. He adds that unfortunately, police often can't lay charges if the bus driver doesn't get a plate number or a good description of the driver. The idea of putting GoPro cameras on the stop arms has been suggested for years as a solution, but the province still doesn't have a database to process all the videos that would be taken. Craig Murphy with Student Transportation Services says the cameras wouldn't just identify vehicles, but would also stop future incidents.
So if every school bus in the city had a stop arm camera in it, and we could capture every driver that's passing a school bus and they're ticketed, and the driving community is aware that if they pass a stop school bus, they will be caught every single time, then that will change the attitude and their behavior.
I know it's something, there's certainly some conversations have been had about it, and something I suspect we may see in the future, and I think undoubtedly it would be an effective tool to catch violators at this. Far more effective than us essentially manually trying to do it.
The punishment when caught passing a stopped bus is a $490 ticket, as well as 6 demerit points. Josh Morano, TBT News.
Another vehicle where there's a double solid line on the road may be a bad idea, but it's not illegal in Ontario. Thunder Bay Superior North MPP Lise Vaugeois wants to change that. Vaugeois says highway safety is the issue she gets the most complaints about from constituents. That's why she's backing her NDP colleague Guy Bourgouin in the Northeast, who's putting forward a private member's bill that would make it illegal for drivers to pass on a double line on the highway. He's proposing a $400 fine and 3 or more demerit points for those who do it. Although opposition-backed bills are usually defeated by the government, Vaugeois hopes this one will be the exception.
We've got people with, using cams on the front of their vehicles, recording trucks on both sides of double lines going in the same direction, which is extremely dangerous. And it's frightening for the car drivers. And frankly, it's probably frightening for the truck drivers as well.
In a written statement, the Ministry of Transportation says it regularly reviews its policies and practices and touts Ontario as having among the lowest rates of fatalities per licensed drivers. They add the province's laws already give police the ability to issue fines if a driver is operating their vehicle unsafely, including improper passing.
The Ontario government introduced another labour bill today.
It would make a host of changes to labour laws. It's the fourth in a series of bills that the government has called Working for Workers. Today's proposals includes a ban on unpaid trial shifts for restaurant and hospitality workers. It will also beef up rules against deducting employee wages in the event of customer theft. Unpaid trial shifts are still happening as part of the interview process in some restaurants, so the practice will be specifically prohibited. Ontario's first Francophone Lieutenant Governor was sworn in today. Edith Dumont is taking over as the King's representative in the province. Dumont made her mark as a special education teacher, a school principal, and community advocate. She becomes the province's 30th Lieutenant Governor. The Prime Minister has called Dumont a proud Franco-Ontarian who's devoted the last 3 decades to supporting Francophone communities. She replaces Elizabeth Doutswell, who's been Lieutenant Governor since 2014.
The 3 high schools run by the Lakehead Board have received some new machinery to help address the skilled trade labor shortage in the precision metalworking sector.
Tech teachers and industry partners were invited to Westgate Collegiate yesterday to view the new equipment and watch a student demonstration. Jess Clement has the story.
Westgate is one of the high schools in Thunder Bay that have each received approximately $90,000 in new technology for their manufacturing classes over the past year. The equipment comes from the Canadian Tooling and Machine Association and the Ontario Council of Technology, which have delivered new tech to about 100 high schools in the province.
One of the reasons that we're doing this, that a lot of the equipment that are in these shops for years has never been updated. In fact, it was more like going into a museum than it was seeing what's actually happening in business and industry.
David Lewis, program manager for the CTMA Career Ready project, says the equipment allows students to get familiar with what's used in the industry.
This is really going to be impactful in allowing students that are interested in this to be able to go straight into the world of work, into an apprenticeship, or go to college or university in this type of field where we can really grow this industry that will allow us to reshore and bring jobs back to Ontario.
Westgate teacher Michael Lemieux says since getting the technology, He's seen an increased interest from students in the manufacturing class.
We have a higher enrollment in manufacturing. A lot of kids want to take it because of what we're learning here. We have different projects that the kids can do that they learn on, and they buy into it. They really like it.
On Monday, 14 tech teachers from the Lakehead and Catholic schools received professional training on the new equipment. Industry partners were also on scene to check out the new machinery, and grade 12 student Silas Maxwell provided a demonstration by making a chessboard.
I've used it several times. It's a nice machine. Like, they're not cheap either. It's great that we got equipment like this at the school. I mean, it teaches you all sorts of stuff, opens up a lot of pathways.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Thunder Bay has broken a high temperature record. Northwestern Ontario was the warmest region in Canada today due to a blast of warm air from the U.S. The temperature recorded at the Thunder Bay Airport reached 13.2 degrees Celsius this afternoon. According to Environment Canada meteorologist Trudy Kidd, that broke the previous record of 12.9 degrees set on this day in 1994. Typically, Thunder Bay reaches a maximum temperature of just 2.1 degrees for this time of year. Kidd says we should enjoy the unseasonably mild weather while we can, as temperatures are expected to return to seasonal values by late Thursday, when the winds shift to a northerly or northwesterly direction.
This is a great time for people to start preparing for the really bad weather ahead. So sometimes it's hard to believe when it's so warm outside and you've got your sunglasses and your spring coat that bad weather is coming. So now's a great time to check out getprepared.ca for your emergency preparedness kit. And also, if your tires aren't changed already, it's a great time to start thinking about that and getting those appointments lined up.
Well, Mitch, we're going to turn it over to you now, and we're going to keep it right there. Of course, a weather record today, like we said, very warm conditions out there, and not exactly the sunniest day, but we'll take the warm temperatures.
We will take the warm temperatures, and even though it did make its way up to 13, it didn't feel like 13. I was hoping she would say, the weather is going to continue to be warm, but there's got to be snow eventually. Today, though, it was pretty beautiful. Low of -4 in the morning, but made its way all the way up to 13. But as for the temperature itself, plenty of clouds in the area and wind from the southwest, which is bringing that warm temperature, but also cooling things down. So not a lot of sunshine, so it did feel a little cooler, but still breaking temperature records today. And it was fairly warm throughout the region. Fort Frances currently up to 9. They got a high of 10. No other records were broken other than Thunder Bay, but the temperature is still very warm, 6 and 7 in Dryden. It's been fairly clear throughout the day, so they did see some sunshine, while partly cloudy skies in the Red Lake Sioux Lookout area, still seeing some warmer temperatures at the moment. While farther northeast, Greenstone currently sitting at 6. Also saw plenty of cloud coverage throughout the day. That's going to continue heading in tonight, along with Greenstone at 5, while Sault Ste. Marie a little bit cooler, down to 4 at the moment. Also seeing plenty of clouds, but there isn't really any rain or snow making its way to the region tonight. Now, as we head to Thunder Bay, it is going to drop down to around 0, which is still fairly warm. We are going to see those clouds continue here in Thunder Bay, and the wind sticking around from the southwest, gusting up to 33 kilometers an hour. And that wind will stick around for the next couple days as temperatures continue to stay warm, but after that, it's going to get a little bit colder.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mitch. Well, when we return, we'll bring you the latest from the Middle East, where the concern continues to grow for patients in a hospital in Gaza. We'll have those details when your news hour continues after the break.
Every minute, every hour, we are hearing that either full hospital or departments in a hospital is closing its services.